I'm Tearsa, and this is DIY with AZSA.
How's it going, everybody? This is Daniel Clark.
This week, Dan and I will be walking you through how to construct your own hydroponic system. Based on our last week's episode talking about materials needed, we'll go a step further and start putting them all together. So let's get building. In the spirit of DIY projects, we wanted to go ahead and give you some alternative ways to construct your hydroponic garden based on materials that you might have lying around your house. So Dan's gone ahead and walked you through how to do that with a 5-gallon bucket, and I wanted to show you how we do it with the food computers with 5-gallon storage totes. So the idea of this system is that you have the storage tote filled with nutrient-rich water, and the plants grow out of the top. We'll have to drill holes into the lid of the tub, and that's where the baskets will sit, and the roots of the plant will be able to grow down into the water. So to do this, we will need a drill and a keyhole saw. And this is what a keyhole saw looks like, if you can see it. You'll want to make sure that the saw is the same dimensions as your growing baskets. So this is a 2-inch basket and this is a 2-inch saw. And that's important because you'll want the baskets to fit snugly inside of there and not be too big or too small. Before starting, you want to make sure that you have someone to help you do this. Drilling can be dangerous, so you'll want somebody to hold down the bucket for you so it doesn't slip and you hurt yourself. You also want to make sure that you're wearing something to protect your eyes. As you're drilling with this, it's very common for plastic shards to kind of pop out, and you want to make sure that your eyes are protected and you don't hurt yourself. So once you have that, you'll go ahead and get started. We already have all the holes drilled, so I'm not using someone today, but I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. So once you have the keyhole saw in, make sure it's nice and tight, and then you'll have somebody help you hold it down and drill right in. And then you'll do that as many times as you want holes. You'll partly want to know what you'll be growing. Holes close together like this are best for thinner plants like herbs and maybe some lettuces that don't need a whole lot of room. But if you're growing something that grows a little taller or bushier, you might want the holes farther apart, so less holes on the lid to give them more space to grow. So once you have your holes drilled in, you'll also want to make sure you drill a small hole at the top for the air stone. Now the air stone sits inside of the bucket, and this is what helps ensure the water stays oxygenated. So you'll drill a small hole up at the top, and that'll give you space to run your air stone tubing through there. And you'll want to make sure that it's not too tight so it's not cutting off the air supply. And so once you have all your holes drilled, you'll probably want to clean out your bucket. It'll probably be full of plastic shards. So clean it out really well, and then you can fill it with water, add your nutrients, check the pH, and insert the baskets inside of the holes. And that's where you'll put your growing medium, such as clay balls, or we use rock wool and aquarium tank pebbles. So there's a number of things you can use. We will go over maintenance and planting in our next video, so stay tuned to learn more.
I'm going to walk you through putting the hydroponic system together now that you have all the components that you need. So first things first, you want to make sure everything is clean. So when you have your grow medium, you want to make sure that you take it outside, put it into a strainer, and get all of the loose dust out. Eventually, while you're running the system, more is going to come out, and that's okay, but you want to get the bulk of it out for now. Also, you want to make sure that you wash the bucket out, get it as clean as possible because you don't want any type of contamination in before you start. That'll set you up for failure. Once you have everything cleaned off, you're going to want to go ahead and put your grow medium inside your basket so it will look like this. And then you'll also see it's filled all the way to the lowest top hole, or so there's no spot for light to get through. For the bucket itself, you want to make sure you drill a hole through the side. You don't have to do this, but it'll ensure that you get the best airflow. So what you do is towards the very top, you'll just drill a hole that's the exact size of your tubing. You'll want to route your tubing through the hole and then connect your air stone to it. Now you don't want the air stone to go as perfectly in the middle as possible. So you may need more or less tubing, and you just want to feed it till it looks about this. So that way when the basket goes in, the tubing has room to move, but the air stone still stays in the middle. Once you have your bucket full and you have the tubing in with the air stone, you're going to want to add your nutrients. So I don't endorse any particular brand, but these are the ones that I've been using and they seem like they work pretty well. They are General Hydroponics Floor Bloom and Floor Grow to start. I think it comes in a 3-pack kit also with Flora Micro, which they say not to add this until you actually have a blooming plant. But I've played around with it and I've noticed that things actually grow a little bit faster if you use all 3. And once you have all 3 inside your bucket, I think it's 1 teaspoon per gallon, but just use the instructions on the side of it and it will steer you right. So since everybody's tap water is a little bit different, after you've got all your nutrients in there, you're gonna wanna test your pH. So your pH testing kit, you just take some water, add 3 drops of the tester, turn it upside down, and then compare it to the side of the bottle. What you'll be looking for is something between 6 and 6.5, which you can see we're pretty much perfect. If it goes too far into the red, that means it's too acidic, and if it's too far into the green, it means it has too much base. What you would need to do is then kind of eyeball it. You want to add this, mix it up, only a little bit at a time, and then test it again. You'll eventually get an idea of how much you need. I've noticed that with 4 gallons of water and all the nutrients I need in, I almost never need to add any adjustment buffer. So now that you got your bucket, your water, you got the air stone, the air hose, you want to connect the other side of the air hose to your air pump. I have a 4-hose pump, but most of you will probably only have 1. And then there's a control valve on here, we'll most have for how high you want the intensity. I leave mine cranked all the way up. So I think more movement, more air, the better. And then that brings us to planting your seeds. So there's a couple ways to go about this. You can pre-grow your plants, put them in some wet paper towel and put it on a plate and put it by the window and just add a little bit of water every few hours, and then after a couple days they'll start to bloom, and then you can transport them to your hydroponic system. But I decided to see what would happen if I just put the seeds straight in. So I put romaine lettuce in without doing that, and I went straight into the grow medium, and as you can see, they look like they're spreading just fine. And this is only about 2 days old, so they're doing pretty well. Once you have it all put together, you're gonna drop it slowly inside the bucket. And you might want to add the seeds after you put the basket into the water, because the grow medium is going to like shift around a little bit and you don't want the seeds falling through. You also want to make sure you place the system somewhere where it's going to have plenty of light. I don't recommend putting it outside just because you'll have a lot of evaporation. It's going to be exposed to insects, but maybe next to a window, or if you are so inclined, putting up your own set of grow lights. Grow lights are nice because you can run them in the middle of the night when energy is the cheapest, and then you can also use the exact UV rays that the plants want for maximum growth. And once you're all set up there, all you gotta do is plug it in. Once you do, what you're gonna wanna look for is to make sure that you have bubbles. So if you can see the bubbles and they look like they're pretty well distributed throughout, mostly in the center, that means you're in a good spot. All right guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions, please drop them below and we'll get back to you. Have a good one.